Coming up on Network Africa, the Tigray People's Liberation Front of Ethiopia agree a humanitarian truce allowing aid deliveries to millions of people. ECOWAS to discuss the political situation in Mali, plus leader of the Operation Dudula movement in South Africa is arrested. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in the northern region of Ethiopia, Tigray, where rebel forces fighting in that region have agreed to a government offer of a truce to allow aid deliveries to reach millions of people that are in urgent need of assistance. Since mid-December, no aid has been delivered to the Tigray region, with the government being accused of imposing a blockade. It blames rebel forces. The TPLF rebels say they would respect the ceasefire as long as aid deliveries resume within reasonable time. The 16-month war has killed thousands of people and over 2 million people have been forced to flee their homes. The head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who is from Tigray, has described the situation there as catastrophic. 5 people have been killed in an attack by armed rebels on an army base in the Central African Republic. On Thursday, regional officials say 3 of the dead in the 4-hour attack on Tuesday were civilians, 2 women and a boy. The attack occurred in Inzakungu, near the borders with Chad and Cameroon. Authorities have implicated rebels of the Return, Reclamation, Rehabilitation faction. That's one of the region's most powerful armed groups, presenting itself as a Fulani self-defense militia. A civil war in the C.A.R. that began in 2013 has pitted multiple militias against a state on the verge of collapse had eased considerably in recent years. ECOWAS leaders are due to meet in Ghana to discuss the political situation in Mali following last year's coup. Mali's interim president, Assimi Goïta, declined an invitation from the heads of state from the West African Regional Group to attend in person, and it's unclear whether he will join the summit via video link. Back in January, West African countries closed their borders with Mali and announced an embargo after the military leadership scrapped a promise to hold elections the following month to restore civilian rule. On Thursday, a court ordered the suspension of financial sanctions which had been imposed on the military leaders. Moving to South Africa now, the leader of Operation Dudula, an anti-foreign national movement in South Africa, will be spending the weekend in police custody after he was arrested on Thursday night in Johannesburg. Mr. Nhlanhla Lux Dlamini recently came into the limelight for leading the Dudula movement, which seeks to uproot those they refer to as illegal immigrants in the country. Was supposed to appear in the Roodepoort Magistrate Court today over charges laid against him. Well, his arrest comes after the economic freedom fighters on Wednesday accompanied a 59-year-old Victor Ramarafe to open a criminal case against him. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, tells us more.
The song and dance often accompany community raids by the Operation Dudula movement to uproot those they call illegal immigrants in the country. But this time, the stump is for their leader, Nhlanhla Lux Dlamini, who is currently in police custody and was supposed to appear at the Roodepoort Magistrates Court.
One of our leaders is being arrested. He's coming to court today, so we are giving him support.
Opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, had opened a case at the Dobsonville Soweto police station on Wednesday against Mr. Nhlanhla over an attack on the home of one of its members.
So we opened this case against this toy soldier whose only ability is to wear a bulletproof vest to go fight Somalians and old people, because it's time that he gets arrested. And we want to tell the police that they must stop being bodyguards of Operation Tutula and watching them violating our people.
We also have our patrollers, which patrollers during the morning and night are the ones who already come to me and tell me that the guy is selling drugs. I went to the guy, I asked him, "Boss, are you selling drugs?" He said no. I did ask him about the traffic, the going in and out of his yard. He said no. I wanted to be clear, Tutola was not there to fight him. They went there just to warn him that stop what you are doing.
We are here today to support one of our own. He's being falsely accused of one individual saying, no, he stole his cell phone and 300 rand. So now we are so surprised that to see a big organization like EFF being in cahoots with criminals.
The Operation Dudula leader was arrested on Thursday night shortly after an interview at a local radio station. We asked his lawyer, Kumalo, what's going on.
That we came here to court, we are expecting to proceed, with bail application. Then we were told by the investigating officers that, that will not be so, because they're going to take their 48 hours grace period, and they still want to investigate further and check the statement of witnesses, probably do an ID parade.
On weekend, we'll still continue with what we do. We'll come back here on Monday. Yeah. And on Monday, action needs to happen here.
For reasons we're yet to find out, the case against Mr. Nhlanhla Lux, the leader of the Operation Dudula movement, failed to come up at the Rudiport Magistrates Court, a bail application. According to his lawyer, Mr. Kumalo, the charges against him include theft, malicious damage to property, among others, and more charges may be added when the case comes up on Monday or Tuesday next week. From the Rudiport Magistrates Court, Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
One Sudanese protester has been killed by security forces during anti-coup demonstrations that were held across the country. The death of the 28-year-old is the latest of the 90 people who have been killed since protests following the coup in October. Protesters have remained undeterred despite the heavy crackdown by security forces. On Thursday, thousands of demonstrators marching towards the presidential palace in the capital, Khartoum, were met by gunfire and tear gas. The protesters want the military to hand power over to a civilian government. African students who have managed to flee the Ukrainian conflict are left wondering what next, as the war has upended their education. Having been able to run away, their main concern now is how to salvage the degrees they sacrificed so much to begin. As the war continued to rage in Ukraine, different African governments have carried out evacuations of their citizens who are mainly students.
South African students in Kateko Muyiwane and 6 fellow African students hid in the subway while Russian shells pounded Kharkiv before being able to flee on a train to Budapest, a train they nearly failed to board. As the war continued to rage, the Zambian government ordered an evacuation of almost 100 students after many were stranded in Ukraine. Muyiwane and his 6 classmates who were part of this group are now concerned about the future of their education. The 24-year-old was studying medicine with a year to go before graduating. Now he says there is no university left.
There is no university in Ukraine. It's literally smithereens. It's been bombed down and, turned into rubbles. So, yeah, we're basically sitting ducks.
Muyiwane is among tens of thousands of African students whose studies were pended by Russia's war on its neighbor, many of whom were drawn to Ukraine's world-class educational facilities available at a fraction of the cost of Western universities. He and the 6 other African classmates endured days of bombardment before fleeing to Pivdenian Vokdel station. There they said they had to fight to get on a train, including against a passenger who beat one of them to try to prevent her from boarding. Compared with that horror, finding himself a new school seems less daunting.
Even if we do continue online, medicine is practical, you know. You need to be physically there with the patient and, you know, yeah. So I feel like we are disrupted in that sense, and the sooner we do get integrated into a system, if it's possible, then we can do something.
Like many parents, Moyiwane's parents, whose father is a medical doctor, wanted to see their child's dream come true and had to save money to put him through Ukraine's Kharkiv National Medical University.
I sacrifice a lot, you know. I must make a plan, you know, to continue my studies. Medicine is my dream. I remember as a small black child, like growing up and watching my dad go to work. He's a medical doctor, you know, that inspired me, you know, to want to help people, to do better, you know. So I really do want to do it for other people too. Like having gone through the hardships of war, it makes it more of a purpose to fulfill my dream, yeah.
At a house in Ghana's capital, 23-year-old medical student Mame Akusa-Addo stood over two small duffel bags containing the few things she'd managed to bring back with her to Accra and wondered whether she would be able to go back after the war. Addo was just 3 months shy of her graduation when she was forced to flee Ternopil, western Ukraine. Addo recounts her ordeal, having to wait for over 14 hours at the border of Ukraine and Romania.
I remember thinking when I was like right in front of the gate, wait, is this where I die? Because I didn't have any more energy and I was literally about to pass out. And I was just wondering, I was like, because they closed the gates just 2 people before I entered. And I was not feeling well at that point. I knew something was wrong. I tried signaling some of the soldiers, but if their commander has closed the gate, it's on command they can open the gate. So that went on deaf ears. And I was just standing there and I couldn't do anything. So I just closed my eyes and I was just in the air. I was basically standing because of how compact we were. So the people in front of me, behind me, they were keeping me standing at that point.
Like many African students who are studying in Ukraine, the hope for Addo is that things will calm down soon so she can return to continue her study.
To health matters now. Health officials in Cameroon say 29 people have died from cholera in 1 week. They say more than 300 cases of the disease have been registered in the southwest of the country. Earlier this week, the governor of the affected region, Bernard Belai, said the outbreak had been caused by a lack of clean water and urged local officials to build public toilets. Cameroon's health minister, Mana Malachi, says the latest deaths bring the number of people who died from cholera over the past 6 months to more than 60. We'll take a break now on Network Africa. Still ahead on the program. Our Africa Tech segment takes us into the world of video games. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Thanks for staying with us. We continue back here in Lagos. Traders under the bridge of the popular Akwangbo market are racing against time to beat the deadline set for eviction by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. Now, this is coming 48 hours after a massive fire outbreak. Meanwhile, the diversion of traffic is already taking its toll on motorists. Our correspondent, Chris Illems, gives us this report.
Whether by car, bike or on foot, these Lagos residents just want to get to their various destinations, the barricades notwithstanding. If you desire the luxury of commuting without hold-up, be ready to pay the price, which includes a ride against traffic.
To enter a bus, 2 hours, 3 hours to reach Island. Only this thing will make us to reach in time. Okada, they collect expensive money, 1.5 Aguda, to reach Apombo.
The chaos created by the surge in motorbikes and the pressure on the already fire-gutted bridge may itself be a danger lurking around.
There is about 3 pillar there. It has been collapsed. So they have to block that place, and not people to be climbing it again. When you look at it, you see a cloud of people there, packing machine, doing all this. It's not supposed to be there. There has to be a security man that monitor that place very well.
Meanwhile, the Akbongo market is still smoldering 48 hours after the Wednesday fire incident. Affected traders are seen milling around what once was their source of livelihood, now a turf for scavengers. Afolayan is one of such traders. He has plied his trade here for over 15 years, but lost all he has had to the inferno. Now he can only watch as the remains of his shop is broken in bits for ease of evacuation.
Not easy at all, because we hear from Lagos State government that we should live here in the next 24 hours. So we don't know what to do. We are just trying to remove all those containers so that as they order us to remove all our goods, we just try to remove everything so that we can just live here.
Over 300 traders are said to be affected by the incident, which has led to an eviction notice by the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. And the lamentation continues.
I don't even know where I can start, because this is where I'm managing with my children. Since that time now, nothing. Don't have any money, even to eat safe. It's only God can help us and our government.
While most of the affected traders are still trying to come to terms with what has just happened to them, for others, the struggle continues as long as life goes on. Chris Elems, Channels Television News.
Mozambique has imposed a partial ban on South African imports of cattle, goats, sheep, pigs and their meat and byproducts following an outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the neighboring country. The ban covers products from the South African provinces of Northwest, Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal. The three provinces reported an outbreak of the disease earlier this week. Mozambique's National Directorate for Livestock Development has also banned the importation of cattle fodder from the three provinces. However, the ban does not prohibit the importation of pasteurized dairy products, heat-processed meats, or pharmaceutical substances. Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. Let's go meet Sunday Akor, an 18-year-old student living in Kaduna State who's built a video game called Virago to depict the challenges women face in the society. Virago is a 2D adventure platformer about a young girl called Willow, who, after an incident with her stalker, she begins to suffer from hallucinations, which affects her psychologically and emotionally.
18-year-old Sunday Akor is a student of Polish International University in Poland, living in Kaduna State. He is currently studying software engineering, which aligns with his interest in gaming development, a passion he says he has been developing for some years now.
I learned indie game development from watching YouTube videos. I was self-taught. I also played with the system. I learned the tools by myself. It took me a couple of years, about two, to fully understand how it works.
Sunday's video game is called Virago, and it tilts towards feminism by highlighting the challenges women face in the society.
I've always been someone who likes to speak up on injustices that happen, so I decided to use my skill for game development to make an indie game where I can speak up about people being oppressed or people who don't have a voice to be their voice. So the game, how it works is, in each scene where you move, you discover places where you see a woman trying to find a job, but she's not able to get one, maybe because her skill is lacking or something. But on the other hand, her male counterpart can get the same thing, but for a very less work or very less experience. Or you can see maybe a young girl stranded in the streets trying to find her way home, but she gets a lot of harassers, catcallers. So I just tend to depict scenes in the game where women they are being harassed, or things that happen to them daily also.
As a student and a developer, he says developing Virago caused some strain on his education as all of his attention was on his game, which didn't go down well with his father.
I was focusing a lot on the game because I was nearing the release date and I couldn't really focus on my studies. So my dad suggested I suspended the game for some time, but I couldn't do it because I have a big love for indie game development. So I divided my time. Maybe I spent 2 hours a day just working on it. And another challenge that I encountered was I received a lot of requests. I managed to grow my social media page because a lot of people found interest in my game. So a lot of people gave me suggestions, so I couldn't release the game as earlier than I wanted. I kept on adding more scenes, and that was a very big challenge for me.
Going forward, Sunday says he intends to grow a community of supporters for any global cause before going back to school to complete his studies.
Oh, it's still Women's Month, and a 29-year-old Libyan woman is hoping to break the bias and create awareness that women should have no limits to their ambitions, as they can take up as many careers as they like. Madja Al-Riyani works as a clinical nutrition specialist, a health program presenter at a local radio station. She's also a calligraphy instructor in Arabic and English.
Majida Al-Riyani is a 29-year-old nutritionist who is taking Libya media by storm as she promotes causes close to her heart, despite criticism faced from a conservative society. Working as a radio show presenter, an artist, a teacher, and a nutritionist, the Libyan, who hails from the country's second-largest city, is hoping to prove that women should have no limits to their ambitions. Growing up in a conservative society where women are usually pushed to fit into domestic roles only, Riyani instead spreads awareness on health and nutrition through a health program on Jawak FM local radio station.
As I told you, the circle of people close to me is very supportive, but criticism is sometimes disturbing for a woman who shows up in programs and interviews and who interacts with the public.
But Riyani says that these negative voices will not stop her, they only inspire her to achieve more. As well as her work as a radio presenter and nutritionist, Riyani has taken up giving calligraphy workshops, which many women, young and old, have signed up for.
To coordinate between different careers is definitely a challenge. You try to manage time and to give every job the priority at a certain time. But if you like what you do, you'll find the time and you'll manage to do it.
Her hope is that this awareness will help women either develop new careers or spark a passion for a new hobby, and that they can be anything they want to be when they set their minds to it.
And that's it on the program today and for the week. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Layo Adegoke. Have a great weekend.